Oh, well, that was quick. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where everyone is in the world today. It is oddly enough raining both for Laura and myself, although I'm in the middle of a very bad winter blustery storm,
Oh,
and you guys are having a summer storm.
I know.
How's things over in your Labor Day?
I can't imagine right now the cold and the winter because we've had such a hot, amazing summer here on the East Coast.
Mm,
But it's okay, right? It's so cool to think about how the nature, right, of our world moves and
right.
the moon is out for some of us, the sun is up for some, it's cold, it's warm. I love it. It's very cool.
It's. I was actually just thinking the other day because I'm planning to go away for a week at the end of September, and we're going to this hot springs resort for
Oh,
4 or 5 days. And I was like, wait, is it going to be warm enough? Then I was like, actually, no, it's end of September. That's already starting to get quite warm in South Africa. So, yes, it's going to be a beautiful time to just like walk around in our bathing costumes and spend some time in the pool and just relax and do all the lovely things
I
before
love
the.
bathing costumes. I've never heard that. I've never heard.
Oh, I think it is a South African thing that we say because I don't think you're right. I've never heard people overseas always say swim trunks or swim gear or
Yeah, and bathing
something along those
suits.
lines.
We call them bathing suits. And now that I'm
Bathing
even
suits,
saying
right?
bathing suits, it's the craziest thing. Yeah, that's so cute. Our bathing costumes. I'm gonna start using.
Uh, indeed, indeed, indeed. But okay. Um, so we mentioned last week that we were gonna have some really awesome announcements
Mm.
on today's episode. And that is what today is going to be all about, talking about our big announcements. Not all of them, I think, because there's some stuff that we're still just busy working on a little bit, but we've got some really exciting developments that have been going for quite some time. And now we're finally here, and we're just so excited to share it with everyone. And hopefully, you're going to, not hopefully, I know a lot of people are going to definitely be joining us on this journey
Yes.
as we move forward. So, I don't know. Actually, I'm almost nervous to say anything. Where should we start?
I don't know. It's wonderful. And
Okay,
again,
so
one
yeah,
more
sorry.
opportunity, right, for everyone that is joining and going to be joining us and starting at the very beginning, from where we are today. This is what um, trust looks like in yourself and one another. This looks like the belief that you can create something of joy and of passion and on purpose while you're still living through your life.
Hmm.
We are busy people, and everyone, we're busy. And to live a life of non passion, non purpose is really to waste this opportunity within a 100-year span, which goes by quickly. So, again, you're going to see Stefan and I growing, advancing, creating, and never giving up, always having the faith within ourselves that connection is important and growth is empowering. And we are living examples of what you
That
can
is so
do.
true.
Yeah.
That actually, thank you, actually, Laura, for saying all of that because it presents me with the perfect segue into everything. Because I think, well, not I think, I know that I've had a lot of these ideas for quite some time. I've floated them past you a few times as well as to all the different projects that I'm wanting to embark on. And I think if it wasn't for the Wealth of Self podcast, and literally living that growth, living that expansion week in and week out, these projects would have just stayed on the digital shelf,
Mm.
gathering metaphorical dust, and nothing would have happened with them at all. But because of this growth, because of this expansion, I'm now getting to the point where I'm so excited to start sharing this and moving forward with it. And then obviously, you and I had that discussion last week where I just went, you know what? Why don't we just do this together?
Yeah.
And I was very nervous to have that discussion with you actually and float that question because I was like, oh no, like I really like working with Laura, and what if she says no, and maybe it's not up her alley and all the rest of it. And as usual, the universe went, no, no, no. you both are on the same track. This is where you need to be heading. So yeah.
And again,
So
very, very authentic to who we are and what we're doing. And always stay open to opportunities. And what I find, and this is bringing me such joy, and you can't do everything with everyone, of course, in your life, but
no,
when you have a synergistic connection with someone and you're able to talk about goals and dreams and share big thoughts with someone, and then opportunity comes in, take that journey. There's nothing but power and beauty and experience that's going to come out of it. So really, we're creative beings. Remember that. Connect to that creativity and allow Stefan and I to be the mentor, the guide, the partnership to you to create what you want to do in your life, because we really are showing by example.
so off the back of that, let's go ahead and share what it is that we are launching next week. There will be 3 new podcasts that Laura and myself are going to be doing. You already know that we have the two. We have the Wealth of Self on a Monday and the Empowered Tarot on a Friday, just to nicely wrap up the entire week and prep for the new week coming. The first of the 3 podcasts that we're going to be doing, I think, is one that a lot of people are going to be very excited about. I know when I first started mentioning it to Laura, she said this sounds exactly like what we actually need to have in our work that we're doing. Because, and just to let everybody in the kitchen a little bit behind closed doors, as we've been building up the beautiful content and the incredible wisdom that we're trying to share with the world, something that keeps coming up for both Laura and myself is, how do we create a wonderful synergistic business around this that allows us to have incredible amounts of fun, just bring joy to ourselves and other people, and at the same time be remunerated fairly well for that, so we're not having to run around and do other things that maybe we're not passionate about. How can we turn this into a thriving business that is helping as many people as humanly possible? And it kind of got us both thinking a little bit about it, and looking at our skill sets. And it occurred to us that actually the best thing to do would be to launch a podcast on, we're going to be calling it the Wealthy Mindset, right? Bringing in that holistic approach. Well, you're going to see this in everything we're doing, but that holistic approach to wealth. So in this podcast, you're going to be learning what we're doing in our business, what techniques we're applying. We're also going to be interviewing different people who are entrepreneurs, big business owners, business coaches, investment coaches, right? People who can really start to train us mentally, emotionally, in order to be making the right decisions, to take the right steps, to really grow not just the wealth of the inner person, but the wealth of the bank balance as well. Because everybody wants that, right? It takes a lot of stress off if you know your bills are covered and everything is sorted and you can live a decent, well empowered life. So that kind of again feeds into our main topic as always, which is wealth of self. Then the second podcast we're going to be launching, which Laura is going to be helping with hugely, because this is not a topic that I'm nearly as versed in as what she is. And this is going to be what we call the full package, where we're going to be talking about all things physical, but again, from a holistic point of view. So we're going to be looking at fitness, nutrition, healthy foods. For me personally, I have a challenge, which I'll talk about a little bit later, the challenges that we've set for ourselves, which is to look into more natural ways to treat certain physical ailments that I personally have currently. And we're going to be incorporating meditation, breath work, yoga, qigong, all these Eastern modalities around it to see how they can, again, work synergistically, which I think also comes back so beautifully to our basis, right, with Wealth of Self and the Empowered Tarot, where we're really taking the Western approach and merging it with these ancient esoteric principles to drive things forward.
Yeah. It really is synergistic alignment, right? In motion. And when I was walking down the beach this weekend, my husband runs and I power walk, and there are people along the beach with, kettlebells. There were people doing handstands and practicing yoga positions. We're moving into this area now where we want to help create the confidence to live
Mm,
this life and not feel like everything has to be kept quiet and kept, low under the radar. This is about expansion and living in your fullness, because only when you do that, which is why everything is starting to happen under the umbrella, let's just say at the moment, for the wealth of self, um, we we are living it. Remember, no fear, right? We're just moving through that illusion, or even the disillusion, right, of it.
mm,
And I was open to it, and so I saw pieces of the human condition expanding, and in real time, right on the beach, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So, someone might be questioning, well, the wealth of self, we cover so many, really empowering topics, but these podcasts are going to be to really magnify and, again, expand these particular podcasts, because wealth of self, as we express, is an inside job. But we do need to connect to outside modalities and outside skill sets and outside knowledge to create that.
mhm.
And again, this is what the wealthy mindset. We need money right now. This is our world, right? The currency is important. So we're going to empower people to uh, be absolutely excited about creating wealth, so that you may be able to now do things in a different way.
And that is, well, I'm hopeful that what we're sharing, and we are going to be sharing some, what's the word I'm looking for? We're definitely going to be sharing actionable steps that each person can take, right? So I think for a lot of our listeners, they'll know that in the Wealth of Self podcast, we will often end off with, here's something that we would like you to please do over the course of next week, and just see how your mindset shifts, right? With these other podcasts that we're going to be doing, there's again going to be those actionable steps. Here's something that you can do right here, right now, in the course of next week before the next episode. Whether it's just do a 5 minute breathwork session every morning, whether it's just look into opening an investment account, right? Small steps, because the other thing that so often happens when I started to look into investing and investments and that sort of thing, when I first started my career in corporate, what put me off was the numbers that people would quote at you would be these astronomical figures that you'd have to put down. And if you're living hand to mouth, you don't necessarily have $5,000 to just invest. And even if you do, it might be your last $5,000. Do you really want to be taking that risk? So, what we're really going to be doing is looking at money management strategies to still get your feet wet, change the mindset a little bit around that, move away from a mindset of lack more to one of abundance, and looking at steps that each person can take to increase their income,
Right.
right? Because that's one of the first things that we should all be doing. If you're feeling wealthy in your mind and in your soul, start feeling wealthy in your bank account as well. So yeah.
And there's small ways, as you said, to do that. I remember when I was very young, um, and this is an old trick in um, kind of in the process of learning about wealth here, and I think all over the world. But the game of Monopoly, everyone
Mm,
understands the game of Monopoly. When you look at the game of wealth, accumulating wealth, and it is, for some people, it's a game, and for some of us, it's very serious, as you just said. Monies matter. But even if you can take a $5 bill and you put it in your pocket and you never even, because all your money is budgeted. I'm just using this as an example. It could be a 10, it could be 100. But my dad gave us, my brother and I, like $100 bill when we were young. And I mean, it was like, whoa, it was
Right.
keep it in. And, I had a little purse, a little pocketbook, and maybe my brother had like a little boy wallet. And it was to teach. And I've read this and heard about this as I grew in my life. It is to begin to connect you to, I am rich. I have $100. At any time, I can go out. And when I was a kid, and even now for many of us, $100 can certainly buy lots of amazingly cool things. If you go to a candy store, you could find great wealth for $100 in a
Oh,
candy store,
yes.
right? But you get the point. Like, keep monies in. And especially in this day and age, very few people carry cash around anymore. I am a cash queen. My husband makes fun of me all the time. My brother does. Everything is cards. Everything is on the phone. They don't even carry anything. It's all on their phone. I'm like, no way. I love cash. And let me just give you a quick example. This summer, when we were out and we would go into these little Epicurean markets, there were kids in their cheerleading uniforms and their football uniforms with their little cup asking for donations for uniforms, etc. And you needed cash to contribute because cash still moves things along. And that is a mindset that we'll discuss, that we may not think it does, but it is our currency in the
Yep.
world, even though it's changing. So grab a $5 bill, a 50, a 20, 100, whatever you have, and don't spend it. Carry it with you. And always remember, I have wealth.
That is actually a very old trick, and I've
Yeah,
read about that before. I think it's actually in Rich Dad Poor Dad as well, if memory serves.
probably.
Um, yeah, where you always taught to keep X amount of cash in your wallet, and every time you see it, tell yourself that whenever you look at that note, this I am wealthy, and this money is doubling.
And we'll
And you
talk
see
about,
how,
oh, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say that then changes them without even realizing it. It imprints onto your subconscious, where your subconscious will then start to observe opportunities where that money can be doubled. And it
Yes.
sounds like such a silly thing to do, but it works. It really does work. So that's already just one little tip and trick that people can start to implement in their daily lives.
And we can talk about that, on a podcast. And then we can
Mm,
talk about the thought that comes after that. Well, what if I need to spend it? What if I want to spend it? Oh my God, I go to spend it and I don't have to, I can't replace it. And now we get into the mindset. And
yeah,
again, that those blocks and those fears of, I have it, I'm going to hold it now, because then there's a time that you go and you spend it. And then that begins the process of understanding that law of attraction, to letting go of the nervousness and the anxiety around replacing that bill in your wallet or your purse again. And so now we can already see somebody like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll put $100 in. And then it's like, oh my God, what happens if I spend it? How do I replace it? And this is where this podcast is really going to help advance the way you think about money and investing. And again, it's all going to come around that $100 or $20, holding on to it for the time, for that exercise, is investing in the self so that all the other
absolutely.
things can follow.
Absolutely. Then, oh, sorry, coming to the physical one, I'm actually quite excited for that, like
Mm.
deeply excited for it, because there's a lot of different things that I've been meaning to do over the last couple of months that I just have neglected hugely when it comes to my physical body. And I'm very excited to get back into it because as our audience will start to notice, and Laura already knows this as well, everything is interconnected, right? So the more you look after the foundation, in this case, the physicality, the easier it is to have a better handle on your emotions and really connect with those. The easier it is to have a clear mind, to be able to focus on what needs to be done and what needs to be achieved. The easier it is to do things like eat healthy. And actually, so sorry, that's where I was actually going with this. I was trying to think like, where am I going on this tangent? Now I remember. So something occurred to me last week because I've started gymming again about 3 weeks ago, and my trainer gave me an eating plan. And I looked at this and I was like, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there because I've not been eating very healthily over the last few months at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all. I've been eating okay. It's just I haven't been eating as well as I probably could and should.
Like most of
And
us.
but I remembered, and there's this one kung fu master actually. He's, I think, fourth, no, 10th generation or something, Shaolin Temple, all the rest of it. And he now lives in London, and he has his online trainings and whatnot that he does. And I remember I purchased a qigong course from him. And in the opening session, where he's now giving you your introduction and all the rest of it, he says what he finds so interesting is Westerners always come to him and ask, what should I be eating and what should I not be eating? And he says, and my response is always the same. Just do the Qigong for 5 days, and you will see what you crave and what you want to eat will change. And he says, and every time my clients all disagree, they want to know what they should eat. And he just says, just do the Qigong. Everything else will fall into place. And I noticed last week, okay, it took a little bit longer because I've not been doing my Qigong. I've just been doing my gym sessions and all the rest of it, different type of exercise. But I noticed last week that my cravings had shifted dramatically to the point where I put milk in my coffee and I had to throw it out because I just didn't want the milk.
Yeah.
I wanted just the black coffee. I am used to having something sweet in the evenings after dinner, usually a chocolate or a glass of chocolate milk or something sweet. I normally like something sweet or a cookie or whatever. All of last week, I was, when I say craving, Laura, that my fridge right now is stocked to the hilt with fruit.
Yeah.
All I wanted every single evening was, I didn't even want my dinner. I would just be like, I want strawberries, I want oranges, I want apples, I'm like, where is this coming? What is going on? And I flashed back to what that Shifu was saying, where he goes, once you get into a certain routine, your body will tell you what you want and what you need. And I find that so interesting because, and Laura knows this, but it's one of my challenges, which I'll tell everybody else, tell everyone about in a minute or two. But one of the things that I'm on currently medication-wise is water tablets, because I had a very bad run-in with congestive heart failure early this year. So my body retains a lot of water, and I have to be on these water tablets to keep that under control. By Saturday, I suddenly realized that even though I'd missed 3 doses in a row of my water pills, not on purpose, okay, because I took all my other medication as I was supposed to, but for some strange reason, each time I was supposed to take my water pill, I just forgot. Now, usually if I miss even one dose, I can feel my body's a little bit off.
Right.
By Saturday, I suddenly realized that I hadn't had it all of Friday, and Saturday morning I hadn't had. Saturday afternoon was the first one that I'd taken in 2 days. Now, okay, first of all, please, for everybody listening to this, I'm not a doctor. Please don't take anything that I say to be medical advice. This is just anecdotal, what I experienced. And I am going to my doctor to talk to him about it as well, just FYI. But it suddenly occurred to me that because I'd been eating so much healthier and the things that I was craving were high in water content, but at the same time, very good diuretics and antioxidants, because I've been eating blueberries and pineapple and all these other things, my body was no longer storing water and moisture the way it had been.
Right.
And it just brought it home for me. So yes, please.
Yes, no, and as you're talking, I mean, because all of us can relate to this. We don't, even use the word diet. We haven't used that word in our family really ever. It would always be, again, a recalibration of the joy of eating. My parents ran a country club here in the States when my brother and I were kids, and we literally lived on a golf course. in the house and the caretaker. It was amazing. And my mom cooked and ran the entire kitchen for all the weddings. And so
Mm.
one of the things when we get into these nutrition and really health of body podcast and all of that, as you said, um, it again, everything you're hearing and you're going to hear, and let this word settle in the most magnificent way. It is discipline, but not discipline in this hardship, like you're carrying, a boulder up the hill. The discipline and the study of bringing yourself to your highest and best experience honestly should be the most joyful experience in this world. And all of what we're talking about is going to support, inspire, and enrich your life along these ways. So, of course, everyone knows in my family, my mom still to this day, we can catch her in the middle of the night when we visit her, having a little glass of milk and a cookie or a little snap of a chocolate, literally in the middle of the night. She'll get up like in her sleep. And because her body is trained to have that little treat, it's
Mm-hmm.
emotional, it's spiritual, right? It's physical. But when you do practices, when you experience practices like a meditation or any of the practices that Stefan is going to share throughout all of our journey together, there is a natural alignment that the body starts to awaken to, such as if you meditate every morning, you will begin to want to intake the energetic of food differently. So let's just say you used to
Yep.
have buttered toast with jam. 5 days in, all of a sudden, maybe you want a beautiful cup of herbal tea and a bright orange. I'm just using these as examples. There's something about the care of self that recognizes itself in that process and it begins to align. What happens is the voices, right, and the patterns and the behaviors of what we've been accustomed to kick in. But that is not that. Listen to your instinct. Your body knows how to heal itself. And yes, and we will have proper disclaimers always. None of this is us telling you what to do. We are always going to share what we have done. And both of us have been under, whether it's holistic care, whether it's traditional care, it's a combination of Eastern, Western doctors. That is a given. Never do anything without the conversation first with your provider who's helping you care about your body. But there is a wealth of information of over the counter herbs and teas and tinctures and
Mm-hmm.
oils and all kinds of things. Even again, you can read any magazine out in the world telling you what not to put in your hair, what not to put on your skin. And you don't have to be overwhelmed like, oh my God, I have to throw everything out and change everything, and that's too costly. No, you just take one step at a time. If we mention, like, right now we're going into our winter months. So we just had a conversation at this party the other night. Everyone is starting to up astragalus, echinacea, elderberry. We're all going to our local farms and we're buying our honey to put in our tea. There's little things that are just, we all know, but we forget in the hustle and
Mm-hmm.
bustle of our life. Small steps to begin to understand what that union and that connection between your mind, your biology, and your consciousness can begin to look like. So the care of self really becomes elevated, just one step at a time.
That's it. Just one. And it is really just one step at a time. And I actually want to bring this to something else because I think we tend to forget that. And I know for myself personally, my personality type is one where I want to go all or nothing, right? Balls to the walls or don't even bother trying.
Yeah.
And yes, again, the Eastern way of doing things is not that. The Eastern way of doing things is start here, just do this one little thing, and everything else will fall into place. So I'll never actually forget when I first started my journey with meditation and breath work. Um, my teacher at the time asked me, "So, what is it you're looking to accomplish using these techniques and all the rest of it?" And I was like, "Well, I really want to be better focused at at work and in order to be able to create better things and build more wealth, etc., etc., etc." And he goes, "Okay, well, I think this will definitely help with that." He says, "Because right now your mind is very cluttered, which is mirrored in your living space." Because he'd been to my home. He's like, "You're not a dirty person, but you're by no means a tidy person either." And he's not wrong. So, and I went, "Oh, okay. So you're saying I've heard this. I need to tidy my desk." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "You're again approaching it from a very Western way of doing things." He's like, "Don't go and now tidy your desk." He goes, "I just want you to tidy your mind, which is meditation. Just do that. And talk to me next week. I just want you to do that every day for a week." I kid you not, by a week later, as I'm now going back to class and I've been doing my meditation and my breath work every day, as I'm leaving the house, I look around and I go, huh, everything is where it's supposed to be.
Mm.
It wasn't a conscious decision I'd made to tidy up my living area or my space. It was something that had just happened. And I mentioned this to him and he says, exactly. Your outer world is very much a reflection of your inner world. If
Always.
you are at peace inwardly, your space will be peaceful as well. It's as simple as that. But we tend to
And
want to do it the other way around. Sorry, yes?
yes, sorry. Because there's so much coming off of this now. I have seen in my travels and in my coaching where people really have resistance to this. We all do. We've experienced it. We'll continue to experience the contrast, right? The resistance. Again, this is where these skills come in, the recalibration. And I'm just going to remind you because this hit me when you run through the J3 equals E formula, and Stefan and I have worked on this privately and together. When you begin to see the awareness that something is in need to shift, then we begin that process. And someone might be hearing meditation for the first time or the thousandth time and been like, I've tried, I can't. Right within that thought process, just remember the contrast is within the word can't. That is your power word to shift. Yes, I can. I'm aware that I've had a thought process that kept me here. I'm willing to open up my mind to something else. So that was such a beautiful example. Maybe, you weren't thinking, oh, I can't meditate and I don't want to meditate because Stefan might have been open to meditation. But in the back of his mind, look where it went. Well, I have to clean everything up out here. We're always going to remind you, and it really is the human experience is an inside connection.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with our outside. Now, yes, it does, but for the point of the conversation, when you begin to heal and to unify all of these aspects of ourself, again, mind, consciousness, spirit, body, biology, we'll get into like the cells can actually speak to one another. They will begin to crave that higher vibration. So if you eat, I don't know if you have McDonald's in South Africa. I'm assuming you
We
do.
do, yeah.
Okay, of course. Sorry, that was Western, right? Giving you the wonderful world of McDonald's. But eating a Big Mac can bring us great happiness and joy in the moment. But when you look at the constitution of a Big Mac, and you break it down to the energy and we put it in our body. Now we begin to
Mm,
see why we hold on to toxins, why our body stores fat, why the chemicals or the gluten or whatever it may be is causing other disruptions. This journey that we are embarking on with you is not to add stresses. If you suspend the doubt and you move into the connection of trust, I promise you that all of these beautiful moments that we share together with all of this amazing information, empowering, inspiring, enriching information, Just apply it in your own way, and life will begin to elevate. When you think of what you're putting in thought, food, this is what will be within the environment. And very quickly, just think if you were building a ground up and you were beginning to construct your new home, you would not use materials. You would not build a foundation that you knew could crack, right? Everything would have a strength and it would have a support system and a durability to it. That is what the physicality is. We're creating durability, longevity, in and out. And one does not elevate without the other. So when we talk about these things, remind yourself this is a connection for you. This is a mentorship. This is
Mhm.
you connecting to that part of you through us that already knows how to move in that path of really experiencing your highest and best through all of these podcasts and journeys that we're going to go on together.
Laura's actually just beautifully explained what our sort of, what do I want to call it? Not our motto, but
Our mission, right? Our
our
mission.
mission. Our mission, yeah. We're not here to be the sage on the stage. We're not here to tell anybody what to do.
Nope.
Where our mission is to be the guide on the side, right? Our mission is to be the people who cheer everybody else on so that you, our audience, as Laura says, can find that inner wisdom that has been there all along.
Yeah.
And ride that to its logical not conclusion, because it never does conclude, but
Right.
its logical evolution. Let's say that rather.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
And I
And
think that's going to change a lot of people's lives if we let it. So I'm very excited for that.
And always remember too, even when you were reading The Science of Empowerment, and it is not a book to tell you who to become, how to become, even what steps. It is knowledge to recalibrate the mindset for you to remember your power, your abilities. But
Mhm.
we will have to apply discipline and practice and continuity, right? Consistency in eating better, consistency in taking that morning walk, maybe exchanging a glass of wine every night for a cup of herbal tea. The key and the beauty of what we are going to help you with is seeing the alchemy in it and letting go of the resistance, using the contrast and the emotions and the blocks, and really turning them into your power structure so that you can continue to just again evolve. And I know that a lot of people see people doing things and always feel like I can't, I don't have it. Or you get even some of the right, the big stage gurus out there that will tell you, but it is true. When you begin to align with the best and highest, something happens in your life. It's you can't quite put it into words, but we're doing the best here. But I promise you, it changes things, and you do begin to attract better health, better mindset. You attract different people. Your passions start to come alive, and then again, the contrast comes in. But that's just the juju of contrast. It doesn't
Right.
stay. Yeah, yeah.
Now there is one last podcast, because I think we've told, yeah, we've mentioned two. There is a third one that we're going to be doing as well, which actually comes off of one, not comes off, but brings me to one of the challenges that I'm kind of setting for myself. And Laura doesn't know about this. So she's going to be as surprised as everybody else. So our third podcast, new podcast that we're going to be launching, is going to be called Sense and Sexuality. Not sensuality, sexuality. And the idea behind this podcast is exploring human, I guess, sexuality and sensuality, but very much around the polarity in the world that we're seeing today, where we're seeing these two opposite poles of how people think we should be living, right? There's the one where you should just be as out and let your freak flag fly and all the rest of it, and the other one where people are being very prudish and saying, it should be just everything should be this way and no other. And yeah, anyway, the point being that the goal very much is going to be how to explore our own sensuality, our own sexuality in a way that feels comfortable for us without in any way, shape, or form degrading the temple that is our human body, right? And our souls and all the rest of it. Because sex and sexuality is a huge part of who we are. There's a huge amount of energy in that as well. And when we really are able to own how we feel about ourselves, right, it changes again, as Laura was saying it on a completely different topic, but the principle remains the same. When we're able to own that, really fully embody it, right, we're starting to own that power because it's coming from within. It's not for anybody else.
And this
And
is a really, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, and as you stated, this is a really wonderful time for this because again, that pendulum swings, right? The conservatism of self and coming out of historical. We were just talking about this on the beach, how there was a time when women were given with a goat or a cow or a sheep, right, as
Right.
property for marriage. Think about the construct of that thought process that is embedded in male energy and the lack of value in giving away. So helping men kind of move into, I'm going to use this word quickly, the honoring of women and women being able to see themselves as a goddess and as this beautiful sensual energy when it's in part of our DNA structure of, even there's still religious groupings where women are up here with collars and as we know in even in the Middle East. And I remember my first experience of ever seeing a full-on burqa when we were in Paris. There was just this much, just the slit. And I can I get so choked up about this, and I cried, and my husband was said it's okay because this isn't about though you can be a stripper on the go-go pole, right, and living that life out and being free in that expression. I'm not talking about going all that way, but the covering, the dark cloaking of the beauty of this woman, just my heart like felt like I had a brick thrown against it. Not disrespecting the culture and the tradition, but looking at it from an energetic structure really hit me very strongly. Like, how do we align with tradition and the beauty of the tradition, but allow also the opening of conversation, of expressing, because the younger generations over there know something differently. They instinctively know something right isn't really quite right. I cannot pronounce her name. She's on the back of my book because I love her. But Mala Allah, the girl, that was shot for the education, and she knew in
Yes.
her heart something's not right. We can't play music. We can't kick a soccer ball. We can't read a book. What is happening? So there's going to be ways of gently trying to open this conversation as women and men move through this process. And now we really are seeing where women are becoming men are becoming women, what's going on in the psychology of how we look at ourselves and our bodies, and how do we really allow a journey of self-expression in a sensual, sexual way, and getting past maybe the judgment, the self-judgment
Yeah.
first.
The self-judgment is so huge. So
Yeah.
that's actually well, if it's all right with you, Laura, shall we go into the challenges that we've both set for
Yes.
ourselves?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with actually my second one because it fits in so nicely with with the topic we were just talking about now, although it actually stems from the whole package, the fitness, the wellness podcast that we're going to be doing. I'm not going to call it fitness; it's the wellness podcast we're going to be having. Where my goal is that by the end of this month, I'm looking to drop quite a substantial amount of body fat, right? Really looking to get to about 16, 17% body fat. I'm currently in the early 20s. So it's not something I haven't done before, and I know how to do it. It's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm kind of here for it. But this then brings me to my surprise challenge, which is in line with the Sense and Sexuality podcast, and it actually comes off of something else that Laura and myself are kind of working on, but I'm not going to give too much away. Is I've always wanted to be or to have a photo shoot, but I've never felt comfortable enough in my body to do so. Right? I'm the kid who would go swimming at his friend's house with a t-shirt on. Right?
Yep.
That was always me. Um, Even when I've had a good looking body, still just didn't really feel comfortable in it to the point where this was something that I wanted to do. My goal is not for the end of this month, but by the end of November to actually have that photo shoot finally for myself
Yes.
and just see what I'm able to create using my body as a canvas essentially. So I'm quite excited for that, and I'm hoping it's going to be sexual and sensual, but in a very becoming way.
Right. That's amazing.
Then
That's exciting.
thank you. I'm so excited for, like, I actually cannot not I can't wait. I'm nervous for the journey, but it's going to be an incredible journey no matter how it works out anyway. So it's just going to be really, really good. Staying in line with the wellness side of things, I mentioned this earlier that my goal actually of the coming months is to wean myself completely off of my water tablets, and my doctors have been asking me to do this anyway. I've started researching ways to do this in a natural, healthy way, and I have already booked an appointment with my doctor this Wednesday to discuss it. So I'm going to be
Nice.
talking to him about herbal teas and what fruits to eat and that sort of thing, and then really track how my body starts to respond to that.
Nice.
Um, then on the sort of staying with that, but really moving more into wealth of self, recommitting to a breath work and meditation and yoga regimen every day. I'm already going to gym every day, but the gymming is definitely taking its toll on my body, where things are starting to get quite tight. And I just, like my trainer's been saying, Stefan, you've got to spend more time stretching. And I hate stretching, but somehow I don't mind doing it after a good or before a good meditation session after some breath work. So I think I'm going to be able to get
Nice.
back into fairly easily. Quite excited for that. And I love it because when I'm in it, as I mentioned earlier, I start to see how much more focused I become, how much more intuitive I become, how much more in touch with my higher self I am. So things will occur to me a lot faster. I will start to see where I'm out of alignment quicker and how to realign faster when I'm really committed to that meditation regimen. And part of that is, whilst we're discussing that journey, is I'm going to be sharing tips and tricks with our audience as well, especially for those people like Laura was saying earlier who, maybe have said that they've tried it and it didn't work for whatever reason. We're going to look at how to change that language, how to change that perception from I can't to, I'm going to give this a bash. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens. And get back to enjoying the journey, not focusing on the result.
And
Mm,
also remember that we don't have to, again, even if you go to the gym and you hop on whatever a piece of equipment and you spend 20 minutes and you go back out into your day, this is the experience, and I'm going to keep using these words. Discipline, continuity leads to mastery. And we are
mm,
all masters in waiting, and mastery over and fill in the blank. It could be organizing your home. It could be tending to the tomato plants and herb pots on your balcony. It could be big goals. All of this is to continue to inspire you to tap in and align with that inner connection. Again, we are all super busy. I have a group of women that heavy hitters, entrepreneurs, just working, building constantly. And the one thing everyone always asks me is, how do you keep fitting things in? Because I really do. I just keep fitting more and more and more in because I've tapped into the excitement of it. I've
Yes.
tapped into the feeling of learning the skill of recalibrating the stress of it. And now I'm in understanding the excitement. And it is okay if you move into a direction and you have to stop for a moment because it didn't quite align or you just couldn't stay consistent. It's okay. This is about the journey. I know you hear people say this, but it is so true. So, even for me, I'm a great example. I used to do Tai Chi and meditate every day. I haven't done it consistently in years because I'm too busy. Now I'm going to, and so let me ask you first before I start. Have you shared all of your challenges?
Oh no, I have one more, but
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
happy to wait.
No, no, no. Go.
Oh, well, the last one was I'm just for, well, not just, but for this month, I'm going to be getting back into putting together an investment strategy, which I'm
Yes.
going to be sharing with a close circle within the Wealth of Self team. And the goal is that starting, so the course of this month is just going to be putting that strategy together, sharing with everyone, using the tips and tricks to build a dummy account so that in October, we actually do, well, I'm going to target 300% as an ROI, which is fairly high. It's quite substantial, but it is doable.
Right.
Again, with the right techniques. And I literally thought about it when I was in the shower last night, and I was like, if someone just put down $50, which even in South Africa is not a lot, that's 750 Rand, right? If somebody put down $50 and did 300% in a month, that would then mean that $50 became $200,
Yeah.
right? If you then reinvest that $200 and you do 300% again in
Mm.
November, well, now you've done 246, so you've got $800,
Yeah.
right? By December, you're now sitting on close on $3,000. You started with $50.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are ups and downs, and I'm not saying that that is what everybody's going to be able to do. But I just want to put that in the minds of everyone that you don't have to start with a huge amount to actually get where you're wanting to go in a very short space of time. We tend to want a million in 3 weeks when you
Yeah.
could probably get there in a year if you started off with just a few $100s.
Right. And feel the excitement, right? That builds from just the idea, just opening, expanding your mind to new information, letting someone give you information and let it just settle in and know what feels right for you and take that
Mm-hmm.
chance. um, and again, just get excited, learn how to recalibrate the anxiety, the stress, the nervousness, the I
Yep.
just want to hide in bed, put the covers over my head. People, there's no time for that. Let's go. Let's
Go.
live and create these amazing empowered world. There's places to see, there's people to meet, there's podcasts to listen to, there's friendships to create, there's side hustles, there's big dreams. Let's just begin. And so for me, very quickly, my challenges are really basic because for me, this is where I need to always begin because I add in, I really do take on a lot. And before you know it, I'm sleeping 4 hours a night, right? And then you
Mm.
start to get very exhausted and all of that fits in. So I am working on going to sleep, getting into my bed earlier, which means I eat earlier, I take a shower earlier, I have downtime earlier with my husband to get in bed so that I can start my day crisp, aligned with the mindset of rest. So for many of us, we wake up, we put our feet on the floor, and we're just like, oh, as Stefan says, oy vey. We're tired, right? No. So now I've been training my mind the last week or two, getting ready, right? Like an athlete, this is what we are. We're learning how to be champions of our life. Now I get up
Mm,
and my mind wants to go, oh my God, I'm so exhausted because I know what I have. Even though when I start my day, the minute I get up and I get into my office, my energy clicks in. But my body, from being right, we're laying flat in the gravity field that keeps us up and stuck to the earth. There's a lot happening that we don't understand, the working mechanisms of the body to keep the blood and the heart pumping. So when we're laying flat like that, when we get up, but now I'm like, I'm excited. I am rested. I'm starting to train my body, my cells, my biology to feel rested in the new timing. So where I used to go to
mm,
bed at 1 a.m. in the morning and wake up at 6, now I'm starting to go to bed earlier for proper rest, time in the dream state, time in the creative state, and time to just let the body be. So go to bed early, back up your day if you have to. You're not missing anything. Use your sleep as your resting period to prepare the body for the next day's creation. Meditate and stretch in the morning. And Stefan, you and I are going to have many podcasts on the brilliance and the importance of stretching the body. Number one, it
mm.
is the most healthiest thing that you can do for your physical body. Not running 12 miles, not swimming 18, not biking 124, stretching. My brother, we will have him on one of our podcasts as a guest. He's a former USA Olympic gymnastics coach. They will hold a stretch sometimes for 45 minutes in their training when they are working on the 3000th time of a skill. There is a mindset that creates these champions, that they defy gravity, flipping their body, twisting it 5 times in the air, landing on 2 feet, toe to ankle ratio. So he will, it really help us understand the importance of stretching. Again, don't overwhelm yourself. You don't have to all of a sudden go and take an hour and a half stretch class and do Brickam yoga. Just get up in the morning and reach for the ceiling, stretch your arms out, go down to your toes, let your neck relax. Slow, easy, steady movement
Mhm.
towards your highest and best. My third, eat super clean. This is a lifelong journey for all of us. Every day, do your best. If there was an Oreo cookie or a Big Mac, change it out for a chicken salad, change out, maybe the Oreo cookie for a beautiful piece of fruit. Keep
Mhm.
watching and observing your empowerment of power seat of choice. This is an amazing expression of self connection. I am in the power seat to say no to an Oreo cookie, yes to a beautiful orange. This starts to change the mind biology connection, and the cells hear it. They actually get excited to become healthy. They
Oh,
want
yes.
to be in a healthy state. And then, fourth is advance our creation. That is a very empowering challenge for me. That keeps me connected to my other three. It is the support system. So we can even have a podcast on that. What mission statement, what empowering statement, what wealth of self, what shift, right? What wealthy mindset statement. When we're doing individual podcasts, what will support us in our sensuality, our sexuality? What mission statement or foundation statement will support me in stretching more? So, this is what we're going to do together. We're really going to learn how to create our own internal support system to all
Yep.
of the things that we want to accomplish. And I promise you, stay with us, because one day from now, 1 week from now, 1 month, and within a 12-year cycle, you will be in a very different place.
I think that's actually a perfect place for us to start wrapping up, because that's exactly what we want for everyone is, if you haven't joined this journey with us yet, now's the perfect time to start. It's spring coming here in South Africa. It's autumn in the northern hemisphere. Changing of seasons is a perfect time to really like start, putting things into motion, because it's a general shift that we're feeling around us. why not start shifting things internally as well, right? And let's see what we can do over the next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Right.
Because, and it is, everyone's going to be able to see that each week it's these small incremental steps that we're taking. And eventually that snowball effect takes off or takes over. And the results just start rolling in so much faster. Everyone who's been with us so far already knows that because you've seen how when we started this journey together versus where we are now and how quickly things align, how quickly things manifest, how quickly we're able to refocus ourselves if we start to slip off track. Not
And
because it
really,
was an overnight thing, but it's been small little steps that we've been taking from the science of empowerment, from what we're
right.
learning as we're growing. Sorry, yes, Laura.
Yes, and yes. Thank you. And really, write to us. Put messages in the groups that we're going to be creating, whether it's a Facebook and how we're all going to be moving. Stay connected, share your stories. It could be, you know, share. This is how we build this community. And I promise
Mm,
you, this is the one thing that has shifted and recalibrated my personal experience. And Stefan and I are living proof of this. When you begin to expand and create the mindset of wanting to help one another and incorporating each other in the journey and not doing it all by myself and not trying to figure it all out, it really does elevate the journey and the process and the results that much quicker, because there's knowledge, there's skills, there's a sharing of information that all on our own, it's just near impossible to create the wealth of information that you are going to gather within all of this, right? The shift and co
absolutely.
and
For
everything
sure.
that's underneath it. Yeah. Which we'll
Absolutely.
express that next time.
Oh yes, there's
Yeah,
so much coming from that. I'm so excited as well, but
I
it's
know.
gonna be so good.
Right.
On that note, I think that's all the time we have today, but I'm very much looking forward to Friday's Empowered Tarot podcast. And next
Yeah.
week, we will have our 3 new podcasts coming as well. So keep a lookout
Yeah.
for that. And
And don't
super,
forget,
super.
share, subscribe, get
Yeah,
your
please.
friends, create mini groups of mini empowerment groups all around what we're
Mm,
doing. There may be someone that's a financial little guru sitting out there like, oh my God, I have stuff to contribute, or I've never been able to take $50 and even think of how it could move in this direction. Ask friends, ask family, coworkers, start to listen together, share this podcast, create your own mastermind empowerment group, become part of the journey. The more we have in this journey together, right, the more we're going to have positive impact out into our whole global community. And that is really at the foundation of what we want to create.
absolutely. On that note, ladies and gentlemen,